these aren't the only 5 by any means, right? Happy 5 Fact Friday. 5 Fact Friday. I'm Charlie Lambden, and it is 5 Fact. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to Moving Home with Charlie. I'm Charlie Lambden. This is 5 Fact Friday. I hope you've all had a wonderful week. For those of you who haven't got time to listen to me ramble on about the details, let me smash through the, actually got 7 facts, but job vacancies falling at the fastest rate since the 2008 crisis. There's been an announcement on leasehold reform by the housing minister. A welcome announcement. The government has announced 100 new towns or expressions of interest for new towns to be built. Interesting. The RICS has done its January survey results. We'll be going to those. Bad news is that in Q4 2024, mortgage repossession claims jumped 39% compared to a year earlier. Good news, first-time buyers in 2024 made up more than 50% of all buyers. So there's some good news and some bad news, and we're going to look at a little bit about what's coming down the line. But in a nutshell, those are your 5 facts. Forgive me, not on best sport, but right, fact number 1. This is going to do it in reverse order, okay? This is actually good news. Let's start off with a nice piece of positive news. So it's been reported by the Halifax that first-time buyer numbers were up 19% in 2024. Got no way of verifying these numbers, and I don't know how accurate they are because Halifax never gives us the underlying data. But first-time buyers made up 54% of all home purchases, and that's the biggest share of housing transactions on record going to first-time buyers. In particular, the average cost of a first-time buyer home was £311,000 in 2024. Now, bear in mind that as of the 1st of April this year, the stamp duty threshold for first-time buyers drops from $425,000 down to $300,000. That means that more than half of first-time buyers are going to be getting hit with stamp duty. And I think that's going to put the brakes on the market quite badly. And it's bad news that's happening. But it's really good to see more people getting a home. And maybe this is something to do with all the landlords selling up, and maybe this is something to do with those first-time buyers having less competition from landlord buyers. And that's absolutely to be welcomed. There's no doubt about that. I think it's also to do with the fact that actually prices have been flatlining at the first-time buyer level, and wages have been going up. So affordability in the last year or two has actually improved for first-time buyers overall, even though first-time buyer prices haven't come down. Or if they have, it's not as much as we'd like. And in some places, they have gone up. So that's fact number 1. First-time buyers now making up more than half the market. Good news. Let's see what happens after the 1st of April when the threshold drops. Now, the really, really bad news is that yesterday, government published mortgage and landlord possession statistics for Q4 2024. And there's a lot of detail in here. The links to all of these are in the description below. I'm just going to go through the headlines, but actually we could spend a lot of time in this because of the regional maps. I'll show you where they are so you can see for yourself. But just the headlines here. So compared to the same time a year earlier, there were 6,000 mortgage possession claims, which was up 39% on the year earlier, which is 4,300. So that means that's roughly 20 every working day. Is that right? God, I must know. It's 500. No, that's for 3 months. It's 2,000. It's actually 60. It's about 60 mortgage repossessions every working day. Now, I use that number per day because I want to compare it with first-time buyers with 300,000. That's about 1,000 a day. So for those first-time buyers out there thinking, oh, we'll go and buy up the cheap repossessions, it's only about 6% of first-time buyer purchases. Repossessions only make up about 6% in number of the number of people buying first-time buyer homes, if that makes sense. All right. My maths could be all over the place today, honestly, but that's roughly what my fag packet math says. Landlord possessions are much higher, 24,000 in Q4. So that's 8,000 a month compared to 6,000 a quarter. So that is 4 times more landlords having properties repossessed than homeowners. And I suspect that those are mostly the Instagram landlords that we're not going to miss, the ones that were massively over leveraged and should probably never have been landlords in the first place and only became landlords because of the unsustainably cheap mortgage rates. And no one's going to shed a tear over those Instagram Lambo landlords being encouraged out of the market or having their stuff repossessed. But that doesn't take away the pain for those tenants who are being evicted through no fault of their own because of this. Say a quick hello to who have we got here? Hi, Modi, Unicorns and Rainbows, Hannah, Stephen Simmons. Oh, great. I'll come back to a couple of these questions. Hello, Winston, Kang, Chris Lever. Lambo landlords living the dream, exactly. Right, next fact. Number 3 is this jobs. This. I'm just going to play this short clip. Okay, you need to listen to this. This is important.
So, I think that, the data we've been seeing has been a warning. It's been ringing a warning bell.
What's it?
Sorry, this is James Reed, and he is the CEO of Reed Recruitment. He's the boss, the founder and the boss of one of Britain's largest recruitment companies.
Several months.
Say it in plain
Right
English.
now, when it's down, jobs are down 34% in the first 10 days of February.
Job vacancies.
Job vacancies.
What does that tell you?
Well, I've not seen that since 2008. So that's telling me that the market is really tough and that it's getting harder for people to find jobs and that there are fewer companies recruiting. And last year, job vacancies went down 24%. So that was bad. But what's worrying me is it looks like it's getting worse. So this is a serious problem that the labour market is flagging up right now.
Why do you think that's happening?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. I mean, coming out of the pandemic, the number of vacancies was going to decline, and it did decline for a long period of time. But I don't think it's been helped by the budget. The national insurance increase in the budget certainly hit business hard. It's not confidence in business, and people have reined in and are not hiring as much as they used to be. And I'm hearing that from my clients. They're withdrawing jobs. They're saying we're going to wait and see what happens in the
Right, so that's not good news, is it, everyone? And if you're right in the middle of buying now, this may not be so relevant to you, but for those of you who are thinking about buying, looking ahead, I've had someone message me last week saying they just bought their house and then they just lost their job. And the jobs market is definitely getting tougher, not easier. Some people will be able to get new jobs quite quickly, others won't. But just, you've got to factor in mind what you think the weakening jobs market might do for the market of properties that you're looking to buy and or sell in. That's why I try and get this out there, because I still remain extremely worried about what's going to happen. Right, next one. Now, I'm going to say something that might surprise a lot of you now. Putting to one side the policies, putting to one side the promises, putting to one side Labour's overall shocking performance so far as a government, Matthew Pennycook deserves credit for being the first housing minister I can remember who actually shows up in public on a regular basis, displaying what appears to be genuine passion and enthusiasm to make a difference. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to succeed. It doesn't mean that we will or won't see anything, but it's definitely something that I must credit Labour with over the Tories, that their rhetoric on housing is very bold. Even though my confidence in their delivery is very, very low, it's good to see them aiming to do good stuff. This video is about leasehold reform. Let's see what he has to say. Just 20 seconds or so of this.
The lives of far too many leaseholders are marked by a constant struggle with unreasonable or extortionate charges, unjustified permissions and administration fees, and onerous conditions imposed with little or no consultation. This is not what home ownership should entail. Over the course of this Parliament, the government is determined to finally bring the feudal leasehold system to an end. As we work to progress the wider set of reforms necessary to do so, we're also acting to provide leaseholders with relief by implementing those reforms to the leasehold system already in statute. The interests of leaseholders will not be best served by commencing the provisions of the Leasehold and Freehold Reform Act in a half-baked or incoherent way. That's why it's important that we take the time to ensure that reforms are watertight.
So I think he's buying himself a bit of time there. I think this is don't worry, we're definitely on it. We're definitely doing it, but it's going to take longer than we hope. And I mean, reading between the lines of what he's saying, he is saying that it's going to take the whole of this Parliament to get it done. So I don't hold out much hope that we're going to see the leasehold reform anytime soon. They're now telling us it's not going to be before the end of this Parliament, so we've got several years to wait. But we must all welcome the attempts to improve it. And if it takes this Parliament to get it done, but they get it done, I will applaud them and I will congratulate them and I will welcome that. And I haven't seen Matthew Pennycook say or do anything disingenuous yet. And based on everything I've seen from him, he does care. He is passionate. He wants to get stuff done. He's enthusiastic and he's turning up in public a lot and nailing his colours to the mast and putting his reputation on the line. And all of that is to be welcomed. Sadly, I think that success for him depends on a lot of stuff he doesn't control. Let's see what happens. But I wish him all the best in his attempts with what he's doing. I know I bashed them a lot, but it's really important that I should also, for what it's worth, offer my support and encouragement when there's good stuff being done. Right, okay, on to the RICS survey. And there are a few interesting bits in here to look at. So this is the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. And every month they do a survey of 200 of their members who are estate agents who are also surveyors. All right. So these are surveyors who are estate agents and they're buying, selling homes as well. And this is about a month old. So it's about a month ago that they actually do the survey, the middle of January, not the middle of February. So this is what was happening in the middle of January. Now, it's really important that this is not data, it's sentiment. All right. This is a yes or no. They're asked a whole lot of yes or no questions. And if you want to see those questions, there's a link to this document below. You can go and see it and you can see all the questions and exactly what the methodology is. But generally speaking, they're asking everyone up or down on each question. They go either up or they go down. And this is the balance of that readout. So the percentage figures you see here have nothing to do with prices. It's the percentage balance of respondents, if that makes sense. Let me show you what I see. And by the way, it's always worth having a look at the regional data here for your area. Okay. So this is for the past 3 months. National prices they've seen on balance more than seeing them rising than falling, right? And for all of them to see them rising, this spike would have to be up at 100%, right? So this is just whatever it is, 20-something% more see it rising than falling, but there are places where they're seeing falls as well. Now, new buyer inquiries in the past month. That's this graph here. So buyer inquiries at the end of last year got up to the highest level since we were coming out of the pandemic in 2021. So that was quite something, but it's now fallen back down to zero. So that's a net balance of zero between people seeing buyer inquiries going up and people seeing buyer inquiries going down. This graph on the left is new vendor instructions, new stuff coming to the market. And you can see that if you actually ignore that giant COVID spike, it's been trending up. It hasn't been this high since all the way back in 2010 in terms of new vendors coming to the market. So that means stock levels growing faster than they have done for, well, what is that, 15 years. If you ignore the pandemic spikes, that was a little bit crazy and wild. But these are the things you've got to pick out on your own, because these are the things that the industry doesn't tell you, right? Stock levels are growing at the fastest rate since the global financial crisis, excluding COVID. Job vacancies are falling, and you just heard it there from the horse's mouth, at the fastest rate since the global financial crisis. Then you add in the fact that stamp duty is going to be going up on the 1st of April, and ask yourself what effect you think that's going to have on activity and prices. All of which is to say that my gut feel is that on balance, the housing market is going to have a really rough year this year, both in terms of transaction volumes and times getting worse, as well as prices later this year. We won't see the evidence of it because it takes so long for the data to come out. But with increasing unemployment, decreasing job vacancies, decreasing GDP per head, it's looking. I'm just saying, proceed with caution. That's all I'm saying. That RICS survey has a lot more data in there, which you should go and have a look at. Have a look in the link below to all of it. Now, next up, we've got the Financial Times story. Well, it was all over most of the papers, actually, about more than 100 sites across England bid to become new towns. Now, this isn't going to make any difference to anything this year, but it's interesting. It's interesting to see whether or not they'll actually deliver. One of the lines he's put in here is they will smash down anyone. There we are. We will knock down those who are standing in the way. That's what he said. But at the moment, what it is 100 expressions of interest from people who want to build new towns. Now, I don't think they're going to make their target or anywhere near in this parliament. There's just, and Matthew Pennycook this week was interviewed saying, look, we're trying to front load it, get everything. We know that we're off to a slower start, but by the time we get the ball rolling, we're going to be smashing records and building more houses by the end of this parliament. You cannot force the private sector to build stuff it can't sell currently, unless they change the law, and even then I don't think they can do it. And building more private sector houses that people can't afford, or in places people don't want to live, isn't going to help. What I'm disappointed at is that there's no talk about building social homes, and that's what they should be focusing on. Only building record numbers of social homes where they are needed is going to make any difference to the housing crisis as far as the government is concerned. It's the only thing they can do, and they're not doing it. They've announced like 5,000. They need to build 250,000 social homes. They need to provide local councils with the money to build their own social homes where they're needed. That would make a bigger difference, a bigger, long-lasting difference to the housing crisis than anything else if they could do it. And last but not least, ministers push for easier mortgage rules to help first-time buyers. Now, if you're a first-time buyer struggling with your deposit, this is obviously good news. If you are someone who doesn't want house prices to go up, it's not good news. Because the rules that are in place were put in place because of what went wrong last time round. So it's not a very wise thing. There are those who think there should be less restrictions on lending. But yeah, it's just they're kind of laying the groundwork and preparing us for the fact that they're going to be easing mortgage lending rules. And to individual first-time buyers, that's going to be great. But again, what will happen is future generations will get left behind if wages don't keep up with house prices. Anyway, guys, I battled through that. You might be able to tell. I sound like the guy from the I can't remember. There was a TV advert way back in the day for a guy trying to order a train ticket to Nottingham, please, and he was all blocked up. I feel like that guy. Have a great weekend. Don't forget, if you're selling your house, don't overprice it or you'll miss the market. And if you're buying a house, always buy a home. If it's because you want to live in long term, just don't overpay. And if you want to find out more detail on that, go and look for my first time buyers offer email template. Just search MHWC for Moving Home with Charlie, offer email template, and you'll find it. But it's also linked to, I've got a link below to my link tree, and you'll find it there, along with links to talk to my mortgage broking partners, my conveyancing partners, and everyone that you need to get your move going. Because in a nutshell, the way to speed up the house buying and selling process is for movers to be better prepared and to not choose shit conveyancers or agents. Guys, thanks very much. Have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.